3, 2, go.
We're good. Okay. Welcome, everybody, to the Or Umbrella podcast. Today's guest is a woman of many talents. We got music, acting, bodybuilding, mixed martial arts. Michael, I'm feeling really lazy and unaccomplished with that. You know, I'm on my couch eating Cheetos, and she's just conquering the world. She's a YouTuber and recently a contestant on The Voice on Team Blake. I think she should have won. I mean, I didn't watch the whole season, but from what I saw, I'm like, man, this girl should have won it. She should have won. But life is silly. She has one of the more unique and soulful voices you will find out there. And I feel like she's a big star in the making. Me and my brother and my niece was watching her videos earlier, and she agrees too. So, you know, you got the 9-year-old audience approval.
Oh, perfect.
We are excited to have her on today to talk about her life and her career and some fun stuff in between. Her name is Joei Fulco. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you guys for having me. I love this. I'm so excited.
We're glad you're here.
Absolutely. We like to start off everything with the silly question. All right, now, let's say there's an MMA fight between Blake Shelton and I had written down here the guy from Maroon 5, but Nick Jonas. Blake Shelton, Nick Jonas MMA fight. Who's taking that?
You know, that's kind of tough, but I would have to say, I mean, I love Blake. He was my coach, but I have to say Nick Jonas. And the reasoning being that he actually does have a history of MMA. He was on Kingdom, so he did train. So he has the background with it. And you know what? He's shorter. Blake's 6'5", and I think Nick is like 5'7", 5'8". But the shorter guys, they'll surprise you. My boyfriend is a pro fighter, and he's on the shorter end, and they dominate. So I have to give it to Nick on that one.
Yeah, he's 5'7", and I'm 6'5", so yeah.
Oh my gosh, so that's exactly the situation.
Danny DeVito, you know,
we're
twins,
yeah,
so.
Exactly. I can still take him though, but you know, I know what you're saying. All right, Michael, what's the next question we got for her?
Okay, so I understand you grew up in a very musical family. We totally understand that. We were all singers growing up and sang in the car, you know, all that good stuff, singing at church. So you were in a family band from a young age. I think your first performance was 2 with your dad. Is that right? 2000.
Yep.
We did our research. Yeah.
I was going to say, you guys looked me up.
Well, it's our job.
Research. Yeah.
So what was it like growing up for you in a musical setting, and how did music shape your life growing up?
Growing up in a musical family, I think, was the best way I could have grown up. It was the most amazing experience. I got the opportunity to travel the world, learn languages, see different cultures, meet new kinds of people that I really wouldn't have been able to do had I not been in a family band, because we traveled wherever the music would take us. So we never really stayed in one place. And because of that, I got to develop a lot more culturally. But music has not only shaped my life just in that way, but also I developed a work ethic that you don't really get unless you're in a business from a young age. My dad has been in this business since he was a kid, and he really instilled not only myself but in my siblings that work and drive to get stuff done, do it the right way, do it wholeheartedly and 110%.
Great answer.
Absolutely. I actually now I was actually watching an old show of Wife Swap one day. And I got to ask you about this, because I saw this episode, like somebody told me about this episode with this little kid who was obsessed with hamburgers or something. King Curtis. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, is he the one who says bacon is good for me?
Yes. And so I recorded the series for a while. I'm like, man, this is kind of trippy. And that's where I actually saw you, your family first. And then I Googled, I was like, I wonder if they're still around. And then I saw your YouTube page and all that kind of stuff. And so that's actually how I discovered you and your family. Tell me a little bit. I know. We all have our shameful past. But talk to me about that experience being on Wife Swap and being on TV at such a young age.
That was a crazy experience. And it's funny because when we came across it, they had messaged us saying, hey, we're doing the show, Wife Swap. And we're like, what is that about? that seems a little sketchy. And then we looked into it, and I mean, for a growing artist as a band, you can't turn down that kind of exposure. And I mean, obviously we're thinking, hey, what could go wrong? It's a family supporting their kids and their dreams. Like, this is great. And I mean, I obviously have had a little bit of experience in reality TV at this point, and I can promise you there is nothing real about reality TV. So we watched it back and we're like, I don't remember that happening. But it was a great experience overall. I got to have the experience of being on a show, seeing the behind the scenes. And I think kind of knowing how that runs did kind of help me with The Voice, because I had that experience with a reality show and understanding the interviews, understanding how things may be edited. So I kind of went into it with a little bit more experience than most people get.
That's good. That's good. So we see you have a lot of interests and talents. You're one of those multi-talented people that do a lot of different things. So was music always you're welcome. Was music always your first love? And did you ever feel like moving away from that as a career goal at any point?
Music has always been my passion. I mean, I've been on stage since I'm two, following my dad around. My whole family kind of just fell into that music thing. It's a family business at this point, but I've always had a passion for it, always had a love for it. I've never really thought of doing anything other than music. It's kind of just been my whole world. I do have other interests. I'm into MMA, I'm into fitness and bodybuilding. So I definitely have my other interests that I do in my free time and kind of on the side. But as far as my love, my career, it's always been music, and it always will be.
That's awesome.
Yes. And, one of the things about having that draw to a family business, like me and my brother, we all of our families in ministry, and so we've always done different things. But he's been a minister for 20 years and I was a minister for 10 years, and both of our sisters married ministers, and my brother was in it for a while. It's just that family draw of, this is what we all talk about, this is what we all do. It's an incredible thing. And so anytime you can have that and truly buy into it and be passionate to share with your family, to share that passion and to share with each other the experiences, for sure. Bringing it back to your musical taste and influences, who are some of the artists that you fell in love with at a young age, and who are some artists that you are into now?
When I was younger, my dad would put on the old classic music and play it and tell us it was the radio. So growing up, I really didn't have my finger on the pulse of the current music, because when he realized that we really had a passion for music, he said, you're going to learn it from the beginning. You're going to know your history. You're going to know the greats. And you're really going to understand it. And so growing up, I listened to everybody from Frankie Lyman to Al Jolson, all the way to Billy Joel, who's actually my favorite artist of all time. But also people like Barbra Streisand, and then on the countryside, Garth Brooks, George Strait, Dolly Parton, a lot of the greats. And then growing up and kind of developing my own taste, I love Carrie Underwood throughout her whole career, as far as country goes. But I love Adele. I love Pink. I love the singers, like the big voices, the raspier voices. So those are like my favorite nowadays, even though I guess they're not really doing too much new releases right now, but those are my favorite, more current artists.
Sure. So let's transition to your experience on The Voice. And I know all of that musical background, all those things, where you sort of pick the songs that are going to best represent you. I mean, I know that when you get on the show like that, you're thinking, I'm representing my family. I'm doing something I've never done before. So tell me about what inspired you to try out for the show.
So when I originally heard about the show, and I'd known about the show for years, and I was always doing my own thing, kind of working with the band. And there was a open call that happened in LA. And I was like, you know what? I have nothing to lose. Let me just go try it out. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And if it does, hey, it's a great experience. And so I went to the open call at 6 a.m. in the morning, with like 500 plus people during that call time. And I waited for 5-6 hours, did my audition, and went through the whole process, and finally got to the blind audition phase. So it was kind of a spur of the moment thing. It wasn't really like a predetermined, like, I'm going to do this one day and I'm going to go on The Voice. It was kind of like, hey, they're in town, let me go try it out. Yeah, but it was a fun experience overall, and I really am glad that I did it. I learned a lot, and it was an amazing time working with Blake, working with the coaches. I got to work with James Taylor, and that was the most amazing thing for me because I grew up listening to his music. So it was great. It was worth it just for that experience.
So how long? I'm just follow-up questions, just out of curiosity. How long between you said you waited 5 hours, but how long did it take you to figure out, hey, you're going through, and what were those emotions like when you found out you were going to the blind audition?
So they tell you right after, they let you know if you can stay for a callback and stuff. And it's a whole long process, but it's a pretty in-depth. I mean, I started my actual process for the Voice in June of last year.
Wow.
And that's when I started. I didn't actually do my blind audition until October of that year, and it didn't even air until February of the next year. So it is a long process going through, getting ready, going through all the legalities, going through the prep, the rehearsals, getting ready for your audition.
Wow, that's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. So when Blake Shelton did choose you for his team, what were the first emotions that were running through you? And you kind of already answered this question, but talk a little bit more about the experience, getting to know him, hanging out, and all that kind of stuff. So.
Right. Yeah. When he first turned, it was the first thing was relief. Like, oh, I made a team. I'm on. I'm here. And I think that's for everybody who gets a chair turn is the initial, whew, because my chair turn didn't happen until I was almost done with the song. So I had already gone through the majority of my performance, and I was just like, somebody please just hit that button. And you have your family on the side watching you, and you're like, I can't let them down. This is what I do. And so when he turned, I was relieved, and then I was excited because he was my number one pick right off the bat. I wanted Blake. And then Nick turned, and there was a block. So it was a mix of emotions. But getting to work with Blake was fun. We get little short periods of time throughout the season to actually sit down and work with him. And you guys see little parts of it throughout the show, but it was a lot of fun. He's really cool. He's really nice. And it was fun. It was a blast. He made everything fun, and that was what I really enjoyed, because in a competition you can get serious very quickly, and he kind of lightened the mood, made it fun, made it a little easier for us to relax throughout the process.
Cool.
Awesome. So your YouTube page has some great performances. How do you describe your musical style, and what goes into picking the songs that you post?
So as far as my YouTube channel goes, it's kind of just, I with my band, I play over 300, 400 covers. So I have a very big repertoire of random songs. We do everything from 60s, 70s, country, rock, newer. There's no real rhyme or reason to picking a set, because we never follow a set list live. We kind of go on stage, we play 3 to 4 hours straight. We don't take breaks. We don't follow a set list. We kind of just gauge the room, gauge how the night's going, and kind of go with what feels right. And that's what I kind of do with my YouTube channel is I find what people are requesting a lot, and try to switch it up, try not to stay in one thing, just kind of do a bunch of songs that I personally love, that I think are great songs that people will like. And I guess that's kind of the chance you take, is that people will like it or not. It's a hit or miss thing. But yeah, I kind of just go with songs that I love.
Hey, that's what you got to do. Go with what you love. It's going to sound a whole lot better.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'm curious to see where your musical career, where do you see it going from here? And what do you hope to accomplish both in the short term and in the long term?
So in the short term right now, I'm working on an album, a country rock album, which I'm really excited about. My dad's actually right downstairs right now working. We have a studio in our home. So he's kind of mixing what we did yesterday. I laid down some vocals. So in the short term, I'm working on getting that done, hopefully doing photos and a video for what that project is. But long term, I mean, I think every musician wants to make it in whatever regards that is. Because what we do is art, and we want to share our art with people. And that's my goal, is to be able to share my art with as big of an audience as possible. So long term, I hope to make it to that level where I can share my art with millions of people.
And what kind? So you said this new album coming up is country rock. Is it a lot of original songs, some covers, a mix?
Yep, it's going to be an all original album. So I have a bunch of original country rock songs, some ballads here and there. So it's an all original album, and I'm really excited about it.
So I wanted to follow up with that. Is this your original stuff, or is it a blend? I know your family does some songwriting too. Is this all you? Is this going to be 100% your songs?
So the majority of the album is 100% my songs, but there's definitely a couple songs where I have asked my family for advice or for help on certain parts. So there's definitely influence of my family, and they're definitely in there. But a lot of the songs are my songs personally.
That's awesome.
We're very excited to hear it. Can't wait. Michael, you got the next question.
Yeah, we also wanted to talk about some of your other interests, some of the other things that you're up to right now. Besides, talk about some of the other aspirations you have.
Yep. Well, other than music, my kind of side projects, I guess, are MMA and bodybuilding. I got into bodybuilding because of my dad, which is funny because I got into everything because of my dad: music, bodybuilding. We have the same name. I mean, I'm pretty much just following his footsteps. But he was a champion bodybuilder when he was a teenager. He was Mr. Teen USA in 1979. So he had a national title. Actually, a couple days ago was the anniversary of him winning. But he won numerous titles. And so I've always been into fitness. I've always been into sports. And I got into bodybuilding, and I actually placed 4th and 5th in my first competition, which was really cool and a lot of fun. And then MMA, I got into when I was about 16, and I trained for a couple of years and then kind of fell out. And then I got back into it, I think 4 years ago, which is where I met my now boyfriend, he's a professional MMA fighter. So a lot of my free time is spent with him, helping him train for camps. Well, not helping him. I don't know what I'm doing, but he does. But I'll help him in whatever ways I can, and I learn, he trains me, and we train together. So outside of music, fitness is kind of my side love, but like I said, music is like number one.
Sure. Yeah,
absolutely. Maybe you can become a professional wrestler with a music gimmick, put the MMA, all that kind of, I don't know, just throw that out.
We always joke that because Demi Lovato's into jiu-jitsu. I was like, let's go, Demi, me, we got the singing, we got the jiu-jitsu, let's do it.
There you go. Last question we have for you. Where can people keep up with your ongoings, and what message do you have for the people out there who are your supporters, and also people who might be checking you out?
So you can find all my stuff. I have a website, joeifulco.com. And then if you look up on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, anywhere, it's just Joey Fulco. That's me. So I post everything that I'm doing on there, any new releases, any concerts, everything is posted on my social media. And to anybody new who's coming to see me either on here or on social media, wherever, I just want to say welcome and thank you so much for supporting me and following my journey. And hopefully you guys will follow me into the far, far future.
Absolutely. Joey, we're so thankful for you coming on the show today. We wish you the best of luck in your continued success and your continued career. We'll put some links on the video here so that you can check Joey out, keep up with her, and we really look forward to everything you're doing. Once again, we thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a blast. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to interview me today.
Well, thank you for coming along. We enjoyed it.
All right. Well, this is it for the Or Umbrella podcast. We will see you later on.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.